come to me door no more. Kill them when you hear me sing. Fire up the blood, purify everything, yes. Kill them when you hear me roar. Babylon come to me door no more. Kill them when you hear me sing.
Well, yes, Belgium was very much in the same situation as was Hawaii. It had just constituted itself as an independent country, having split away from the Netherlands. This is the Catholic area of the Netherlands. The northern part, which we call Netherlands today, is Calvinist. The southern is Catholic, and the two don't like each other very much. And that was one of the reasons why Belgium was established as a kingdom which was very much in need of international recognition. And so, why don't recognize Hawaii, and Hawaii then recognizes us, and this gives us a few extra brownie points. So that's why they went there, they understood this, and King Leopold I dutifully signed a declaration that he accepted Hawaii as a fully sovereign country. So he is really the first one to do so. But of course, Belgium does not count very much. You need the recognition of Britain and France, because those are the two most powerful potential colonizers. And they race against each other as to who gets more territory in the Pacific and elsewhere. So, after Brussels, they go indeed to Paris. And the French listen to them. In the meantime, news had arrived in London of the temporary cession of Hawaii under protest by King Kamehameha III. And he cedes Hawaii to whom? Lord George Paulet, who oversteps his duties. And what's the reaction of his superior officer, Sir Thomas Richards? The moment he hears of this, he hastens to Hawaii. From where, by the way?
India.
No?
Not from India?
Chile.
Chile.
Because the British Pacific Fleet is stationed in Chile. Chile and Britain have a close relationship. They still do. Chilean warships often have English names. There were two ships here some while ago, and they had English names, and I asked them, why do you have English names here from Chile? Ah, because of our friendship with the British fleet. So, he comes here, and as you all know, he takes down the Union flag, the Union Jack, and hoists again the Hawaiian flag. And what do we call this famous day, and when did it happen? Yeah. Right, 31st of July, Kala, Ho'i, Ho'i, Ea. And then we have a Thanksgiving service at Kawaiaha'o by King Kamehameha III when he pronounces very important words. And what are those? Right, and what do they mean? And don't tell me the life of the land is perpetuated in righteousness, because that's the kauna. What does it really mean?
Sovereignty.
The independence of Hawaii has been restored by the justice of Great Britain. And on the highest level, it means the cosmos is back in a state of harmony. So that's what Tua Mauke Ea o Kainai Kapona means. All right. Now, on November 15th, and by this time, alilio, Simpson and Richards are back in London. On November 15th, 1843, news is received of Kala Ho'i Ho'i Ea. Now I have to add something. Thomas was not in contact with the British authorities when he heard of Paulet's action. There was no time. It takes about half a year to get from Chile to England. So he acted on his own. And why did he act on his own? Because he knew that the official policy in London was to keep the Eastern Pacific Ocean independent, meaning Tahiti and Hawaii. Why would the British have such a policy?
Because they had no way of controlling it, just like how the Roman Empire left.
Yeah, you're right, absolutely. They were overextended. at that time? Where were they active in the 1840s?
They instituted independence so that the other peoples wouldn't institute their empire.
Yeah, they were overextended. They were in India, right? They were in New Zealand. They just had concluded a treaty with Maori chiefs called the Treaty of Waitangi, 1840. They were in the east, in the Western Pacific. They became more active, and Hawaii was simply too far away for them to do very much, and so was Tahiti. That's why. So news is received of the restoration of Hawaiian independence, and now they can move. So, on that day, the 15th of November, 1843, Foreign Secretary Lord Aberdeen and French Ambassador Louis Clair de Beaupoil, Comte de Saint-Aulaire, French aristocrat, signed the joint declaration. And what does the declaration say? It recognizes the existence of an operational and independent government in the Sandwich Islands. And that means that Hawaii is granted full membership in this very exclusive community of fully independent countries. The official date is November 28th. The signing took place on November 15th. 1843. So it was a one-year effort, really. In 1893, John Westlake, an expert on international law at the University of Cambridge in England, could thus write the following, I quote, "The international society to which we belong, and of which what we know as international law is the body of rules, comprises, first, all the European states. These, as explained in speaking of the Peace of Westphalia, 1648, form a system intimately bound together by the interests of its members. Secondly, all American states. These, on becoming independent, inherited the international law of Europe, as will be seen in the next paragraph, which I will not quote. And they are as necessary parties as the European states for its further development. That they do not form part politically of Europe, the European system, is due to the fact that, on account of the geographical situation, they do not desire to do so. They could, but they don't want to. Thirdly, now it gets interesting, a few Christian states in other parts of the world, as, what do you think? The Hawaiian Islands, Liberia, and the Orange Free State. Now that's a funny juxtaposition. Liberia is great, is very unique. What is, first of all, where is it and what is it?
West Coast of Africa.
West Coast of Africa, and then what's...
Established by President Monroe as a free slave state.
He sent some former slaves to there, who promptly began to lord it over the local inhabitants, and they still do this. And Liberia had all kinds of wars and a civil war, and my brother, he was ambassador in Ghana, Swiss, and he had a consul in Liberia, and he visited him, and he got an earful of what does not work in Liberia. It doesn't work at all, but it has a flag which looks like the US flag, but only one star. So Liberia, and the Orange Free State, what about that one? That was a short-lived Calvinist republic of Dutch settlers in South Africa, and then you have the Boer War, right? And who participates in the Boer War? One Prince Jonah Kohio Kalanianaole. Anyway, so of these three states, the only one that really functions is Hawaii. And here I add something else, and I'm almost done. As a monarchy, Hawaii had an additional advantage by joining this family of nations. What was the additional advantage? If it had been a republic, that would have been fine, but as a monarchy, it had an even stronger footing. Why?
Keep them working, keep us working.
Yeah, and because the vast majority of really important countries at that time were monarchies. And the monarchs form a most illustrious group. And you have an entree to that group if you are royal yourself. And if you have a republic, they will listen to you too, but not to the same extent.
Communication is slow throughout the world. Hawaii being the Middle Pacific, not as only strategically important today, was communicationally strategically important at that time.
Yeah, it was. You're right. You're right. But you know, when you look at Iolani, whom she visited, or the great diplomat Kū'oko'a, of whom we just talked, who was received by the Tsar of Russia twice, and by Russia's foreign minister 5 times, you see how important Hawaii really was. Now, the final question. What does it all mean today? What do you think? Is this just a historical thing and very interesting, but of course the world forgot and we forgot? Well, we haven't forgotten. But what does it really mean today?
It means that we don't need fireworks to understand and celebrate our independence and independence.
Right? And the claim still is here?
It's beyond French or America or any of the other states or other American states. Because cosmically, we all want to do that.
Yep.
What it means is that the U.S. continues to fight for sovereignty here.
Yes. And the sovereignty is still here.
Sovereignty is still here in Hawaii.
And the fact that Hawaii was the first in the entire Pacific and the first in all of Asia is a very, very strong argument. And so, why should there be a Nakaka bill when you have this kind of background? Well, I leave that up to you. Mahalo.
But there's one thing